Hello, everyone. I'm excited. I'm always excited to be here. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Olushore. And I think I like the way I always introduce myself when I say my name to like my colleagues in the office. So when you work in in an organization where you have colleagues from all parts of the world, the first your my excuse me, conversation starters usually, oh, how do I say your name? I'm like, oh, think about going to a show and the ray of the sun. Olusho Ray. It's like, oh, it's such a beautiful name. What does it mean? Anyways, my name is Olusho Ray and I'm excited to be here. If this is your first time here, welcome, welcome. And if you're returning, I should give you a gift. Thank you so much for always staying through. This evening I'm here with my friend, my sister. Um, Kofo and our friendship is a lot of things, but I'm here with Kofo Worola, Toriola, Olola, the wealth mama. Like all our names has something to. So, since I started talking about names, right? Let me kind of talk about Kofo's name. Or is it how to pronounce? I think her name is easy to pronounce, but maybe let's talk about the meaning a bit. So, Kofo Worola, what does Kofo Worola mean?
Well, I always say there are two meanings.
Okay.
Literally, it means you do not use money to buy wealth.
Okay.
But really, the meaning is I attract wealth,
Ooh.
wealth comes to me naturally.
Money comes to me fast. Money comes
Actually,
to me now. Money comes to me easily.
yeah.
Yeah, there was a time I listened to that confession, like, gosh, every day, money comes to me now, money comes to me fast, money comes to me. So you attract wealth. She
Yes.
attracts wealth, and her last name means because of wealth. So she attracts
Yes.
wealth because of wealth. Gosh, gosh,
Yeah.
gosh, gosh. The wealthy queen, the wealthy queen. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
What do you think is finances want to come and talk about?
Mm. Not to, it's not, but definitely we'll do finances one day on this show. I promise, I promise, I promise. So I'll let Kofo introduce herself because I honestly believe that people do justice to introducing themselves better than another person. And I also give her the honor of introducing today's topic. Come on, let's go.
Thank you. Well, I don't know how I'm going to top the introduction you've done for me because now everyone will say, "Oh, you brought the wealth girl on your show."
Well, yeah, so well,
So my name is Kofoworola, and contrary to what Olushiri said, it's not really easy to pronounce because some people call me Kofoworola. Go. I've heard different variations, and in fact, I hear that I don't even pronounce it well, like in
interesting.
the Yoruba way of pronouncing the name, but for all intents and purposes, we'll take the pronunciation that I'm giving tonight.
Mhm.
So who am I? I'm a lawyer by training. What else? I don't really like introducing myself with all of those things.
Please put all the feathers. You worked very hard for it.
Oh, yeah,
Everything, every single
the most
thing.
important things. I'm a lawyer by training.
Okay.
I'm an author of the book
Yeah,
called
love
Love Book.
notes.
I am a proud Christian. Yes.
Amazing.
What else? I am a daughter. I am a sister. I am a friend.
Yeah,
I
she's
am
my
a
friend.
global citizen, but I'm
Yeah,
also Nigerian by birth, not necessarily by choice, but by
I don't know
birth.
what that means.
But yeah, I'm proudly Nigerian. Yeah. What else? Yeah, that's it about me.
Awesome, 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 awesome. She's not in Nigerian by choice. Hmm. That's another topic for another day. So I can be a citizen by choice and by birth. I will
Um,
just I will leave that. I will leave that for another day. Another day. So,
I missed the
Kofoworola.
topic.
What'd you say?
I missed introducing the topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the topic for this evening, confession, Olusegun and I were still scrambling around the appropriate way to count the topic. So anything
Yeah.
I say, it's like that.
I think that's why I
But
pushed it to you. Since you're
it's
confessing,
really
let me confess too.
it's to being your authentic self. Yeah, so being your authentic self or a journey to authenticity, authentic, everything, just
Yeah,
being your
yeah.
authentic.
I think it's around everything that has to do with you showing up as your full self in a way that you don't feel like you have to be like somebody else or uh, behave like conform to a certain mold or standard that is outside your normal programming. I think is see Aristotle that said to thyself be true. I think it's
Yeah.
Aristotle that says that.
But I know somebody said it. I
Yeah.
know that's one of the favorite quotes really to
Yeah.
thyself.
So if you're looking for a topic for this, authentic self to thyself be true, but something that speaks to you, not being yourself, not having to look over your shoulder, and just a quick backstory about how we came about this topic. So another confession, I like my guests to talk about what they are most comfortable speaking about. So I typically don't give topics to say, oh, this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what you're comfortable talking about so that we can have good, rich conversations. And Kofo had sent me a topic about non-conforming, and we got on a call to say that. So this is behind the scenes gist, but anyways, let's share it. We got on a call to say, okay, what does this mean? And she shared a story with me that I would want her to share again. And we would then now take the conversation um forward from there. Because, as she shared that story with me, I then began to see, how it even applies to my own life and my own circumstance. And I believe if it applies to me, if it applies to Kofo, there's so many other people out there that might be struggling, and even ourselves that we get into some certain spaces and we feel like, oh, we might need to you know act a certain way, but yeah, don't let me spill the tea too much, Kofo. Let's hear the story.
Story. Okay. So like I said, it's a joint we're hosting this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And as you're speaking, I thought about that, maybe we should also approach the topic from three broad areas.
Okay.
One is the background, like you said, just introducing it and maybe
Mm-hmm.
sharing experiences. Second one is maybe causes or things that cause people to lose themselves or to not confirm,
Mm-hmm.
and lastly, how you can now, so if you've lost yourself or you're on a journey to authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
how you can, keep being authentic and all of that. So for the first part, which is the background, I was telling Sherry that in the course of the week, I stumbled on Pastor Jimmy Odukoya's video
Okay.
where he shared the story about how, God had told him to leave his dreads.
Mm.
And it didn't make sense if you're Nigerian or maybe African, but I can speak to the Nigerian
Mm-hmm.
community. That's what I know. And the religious scene, in the Nigerian community, if you know Pastor Jimmy Odukoya, you'd know that it doesn't typify physically, it doesn't typify a pastor in
But the
the
mold
Nigerian
that
mold of a
yeah, the
pastor.
mold that we know how a pastor should look.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you were Black American or American, it may be a different conversation. But because of our background, our biases,
Culture.
our training,
Mm-hmm.
and so one of those things is it has very, very long dreads. And when he became a pastor, apparently, as expected, people had issues with the dreads and they had advised him to cut it off. I think I even remember seeing some comments online when he was ordained, and people were like, "What's a pastor looking like this? Yada, 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 yada." But he said something. He said, he went back and asked God, "Do you want me to cut these dreads off?"
Mm,
And it's important that
mm,
we keep that in our left hand, which is he
mm,
went back to ask God, inquired of the Lord if
mm,
God wanted him to cut the dreads. And God told him no. At that time, he didn't understand why, but he just knew that God was fine with my dreads and he left it.
mm,
And he now said, oh, there was a woman that came from one of the African countries to his church to attend church services for 3 consecutive services. And she gave a testimony to say that many years ago, I think sometime in 2016, God had shown her a pastor with dreads. At the time she had this vision or dream or revelation, Pastor Jimmy did not even have dreads.
mm.
And but God had said, she said she saw the man with dreads and he was speaking into her life and all of that. And that in recent times she was going through a tough time and she tuned into her television and saw Pastor Jimmy. And immediately she saw him, she recognized him as the man from her dreams over like almost 10
Mm,
years ago.
mm,
And at the end of the day, she said something to the effect, I may be paraphrasing now, to the
mm,
effect that, he saved her life, like just
mm,
coming to meet him. And the
mm,
truth is,
mm,
imagine he had cut his dreads.
mm.
Means that if she saw him, she wouldn't have been able to recognize
Recognize
him.
him, yeah.
And at the time he listened to God, he had no idea why God did not want him to cut his dreads.
Mhm.
Not to say that tomorrow he may not come and cut his
Yeah,
dreads, but I'm
yeah.
sure if he does that, it's because maybe God has said now it's time to cut it or not. And it's really it did something to me, it did something to my psyche. And I think I kept asking myself questions like, how many times have I done something because that is the expected way of doing things?
Mm-hmm.
Even as, again, growing up in an African home, being female, being the firstborn, there are just
Pressures a
certain
lot.
things or
Yes.
certain expectations or certain
Yeah.
conformities that, people or things that people expect of you, right? And if you've not gotten to that place in life where you even know yourself, you just find
Mm.
that you toss here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And it applies to every facet of life. Like I said, I've,
Mm-hmm.
I've mentioned some, but applies to
Mm-hmm.
your career, applies to decision making in
Mm.
different spaces of life. So which is
Mm.
why I thought it would be a good conversation for us
Mm.
to have.
Mm. Mm. Amazing. As you were speaking, so many things are coming to my head, to be very honest with you. But it's that thing, where does your loyalty lie?
Mm,
Right.
mm,
Does it
mhm,
lie with what people think of you, or people's expectation of you, how people want you to show up, how people believe, how people think you show up, or even how sometimes, there's a thing with how people expect you to show up, right? There's a thing with how you expect to show up, and there's a thing with how God wants you to show up,
mm, mm,
right? Because sometimes some of the things and ways that God wants and needs us to show up in certain situations are not the ways we necessarily want to show up. So where does your loyalty lie? Does it lie with others outside you? Does it lie with yourself? Or does it lie with God? With God. And as you also talking, I was not thinking about the topic we had given earlier. That is not really to yourself be true.
It's to God be true.
It's to God be true. It's to really, it's to God be true, because God uses the foolish things of this world to confound the wise. I recall a story my sister had shared with me about how she had attended a retreat, and then they invited this man, like all covered up with tattoo, and had piercings and all of that. And she was wondering, what's this kind of person wanting to say in a kind of church retreat and all of that. And it was that thing of trying to break we Christians away from the mode of thinking that there's a way to Christianity. Jesus is the way. And the way Jesus will deal with us individually is based off of the giftings and callings he has put inside us,
Mhm,
also based off of the purpose and assignments that he has for us, right? And then when this man started to speak, turns out that he's been sent to his kind. That is, people that I don't like tattoo. As in, I don't think I can ever get a tattoo. And as of now that I'm speaking, because I just feel like it's a very painful process, and all of that. And culturally, I don't like it. Let's not even go into that. But if you see, for example, a pastor all tattooed up, all piercings and all of that, you'll be, especially from our own climb. So this is for people that have that the Nigerian, right? But turns out this man goes around preaching the gospel to people who, I'm trying to find the right word without
Kind, yes.
Yeah. So, that's what he does, and he has won so many souls
Mhm.
for God, for the kingdom of God. And then there is me that I'm there opening my big mouth and judging and not doing anything. Do you get?
I do. I do. I
Right?
do.
So it's that thing of to God be true,
Mhm.
right? So you had said something around, okay, we talk about the background because I'm just trying to,
Sure.
bring us back and how that people, where and how people find themselves in situations that want to make them, um, is the word
Anti themselves.
not act like themselves. So, what well, let's say what are those situations? Because we don't have to ask the what, but
Yes.
do you have like personal examples? Um,
Mm. Okay. Yes. So when I was thinking about what to say,
mm,
something came to mind and I thought that it was important to touch on, even like which is subsumed under the why,
mm,
people are not themselves.
mm,
Most times it's internal and it's external. Like, so there's the internal threat to your authenticity and there's the external threat to your authenticity.
mm,
What I find is that for the internal part, I feel like many times it's because even as a person, we either one, we do not even know who we are,
mm-hmm,
or two, we have a false identity of who we are. So
yeah,
it's one thing not to know who you are at all. It's another thing to think you know who you are or like have a false identity of who you are. So that's the internal one, that's the personal one. The external one is people trying to impute their idea of who they think you should be on you.
yeah,
This
mm.
is not to say that God does not put people in our lives to serve as a
Guide us,
guide. One
yeah,
of the first guides we have are parents.
yeah,
God has put us in their care so that they are like our guide, our
mm,
caretakers to guide us through life.
mm-hmm,
But even at the same time, right, our parents know a lot, but they don't know everything.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
They sometimes they also impute what they think is best on you as a child.
mm-hmm,
So your parent says, "Oh, I think you should be a doctor." Or for okay, so I'm a lawyer by training. I'm a talkative naturally. So even from right when I was a child, when you talk too much, you'll be a lawyer. You understand? And well, I wanted to be a lawyer, right?
mm,
But I feel like if I did not even know what I wanted to be, I
mm.
would really have gravitated towards
Towards
law because
law.
I talk a lot,
Let
and
me chip
my
in a story
parents.
here.
Oh,
So when
sorry.
I was going to do my degree, my undergrad, I was one
Yeah.
of those um teenagers I wasn't very sure. I was very sure of what I did not want to do,
Mhm.
but I didn't know what I was going to do. But when I finally settled to study psychology, I recall one of my uncles getting very angry with my mom. It's like, how do you want this girl to waste her life? Honestly, this girl, she's a talkative. She's always talking. She
Oh,
talks to.
law.
Why is she not studying law? Like when I heard it, and law was one of the things that I knew I did not want to do. Like you couldn't have cajoled me, you couldn't have paid me, you couldn't. I just did not see myself being a lawyer in any way, shape, or form.
And now
Right?
you have also your friends are lawyers.
Almost. I think I have. Some people actually thought I studied law. I went somewhere one day and someone said to me, "Oh, this is the faculty of law." I'm like, hold up. I did not study law. I
You have
had
a lot of
more
lawyer friends.
friends in faculty of law than I did have even in my own faculty, and I still have a lot of legal friends, right? There's just something that maybe I should have been, maybe there was something there, I don't know. But I knew I didn't want to study law and see the difference here now. I had a parent that was more, you know what, do you? We'll walk this journey together. I remember how we arrived at me studying psychology, which turned out to be one of the best decisions of my life because being trained as a psychologist has made me a better me, that it has
Mm,
made me a better psychologist.
mm, mm,
Do you get? So
mhm,
I know myself a lot more because I spent over 6, 7 years studying psychology. That's
mhm,
again. So imagine if it was my dad that was vehement on me studying law. I may have been successful as a
mhm.
lawyer, but the level of fulfillment I have
Okay.
being a psychologist,
Mm.
I don't think I would have it doing any other thing. I don't know because I didn't try it. But yeah, but I don't think what I enjoy now, I don't know if I'll be able to find that level of peace and certainty somewhere else. Yeah.
So picking on the thing, which is that important thing I said I wanted to say, and I like that you gave the example of your uncle. What I've come to find is when people give advice, like
Mm.
just like your uncle, contrary to what I had been trained to believe that, oh, most times it can be it's from a bad place. They don't like you or they just want to enforce what they
Yeah.
think on you. More often than not, I've come to find that it's actually from a
Yeah.
good place.
Mm-hmm.
Just that it may be from a limited place, but it's sometimes from a good place. Because your uncle again had probably seen that, oh, the probably the career trajectory of a lawyer or the career prospect of a lawyer is probably better than that of a psychologist. But that was
Then what
also,
was there were very few psychologists
you
then.
understand? But that was the view he had. That was the background he has. Now we've seen how like the world has exploded. We've seen all the possibilities that are available. So at the time he was saying that, it wasn't from a bad place. It was genuinely,
Yeah. I
maybe
don't
the
even
delivery
think it
might
was
be
from a
wrong.
bad place.
Yeah, the
Genuinely
delivery
don't
might
think
be
so.
wrong, but
Yeah.
the intent was right or may have been right. And which is why I wanted to come back to the external influence and
Mm.
authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when people try to tell you what to do or how they think you should do, like I said, it could be
Mm.
your parents, it could be your mentor, it could be your whatever,
Friends.
your friend. A lot of times, not to say they are not bad advices, but a lot of times from experience, I've come to find out that people advise you based on their own experiences, the experiences of those around them, and they
Mm.
impute that experience on you in form
Mm.
of an advice.
Mm.
And now, where the authenticity comes in is being able to take the advice or take the good parts or the ones that apply
Mm.
to you and take it back
Mm.
to God. So let me
Mm.
give an example.
Okay.
I remember many years ago when the Canadian jackpot race was really high.
So
I remember,
Canadian Japa, let's explain to
oh, we have
anybody
an
that is
international
watching
audience.
that does not understand what Japa is. So the exodus of people from country to country. So Nigeria experienced a lot of exodus where a lot of people moved, migrated, yeah, from Nigeria to other parts of Europe, Americas, so yeah, just let's put that
Okay.
context.
So that's what it is, the Exodus. I remember one of my uncles called me, like in fact that period, an uncle, a friend, someone
Mm,
called me. And in the middle of the night though, because he's in America, I was in Nigeria. And so in the middle of the night, and I was like, what are you still doing in Nigeria? At some point, I was like, I mean, is God trying to speak through them? Like, what's
mm,
going on?
mm,
But I just knew that at that time, it wasn't for me.
mm,
I just had that knowing. I
mm,
don't know how to it was just a knowing that this is not what God was asking me to do at that time.
mm-hmm.
And if anything that has characterized my life, this is personal to me, is I have never been one that does things because others are doing it or do
Mm,
things just because. Like it has
mhm,
never been my MO. It doesn't work for me. If
mm.
everybody is doing it and getting a good result, if I do it, if I am not
And you
being
were
led,
not supposed to do it.
I will encounter stuff. So I've always known
You get
that, like
Pinocchio's nose.
exactly that is how my life had been characterized.
Mm,
And I did try, like I did try. I think I got past the first day, just like nah, this is not me.
I'm
And you
done.
know, I kept testing my motives, and I think it is slightly moving to the third part on what you can do. One of the things that has sort of kept me grounded, not to say I don't have my shortcomings, a lot of times I test my motives. I ask myself a lot of why. So for why are you doing this now? If I want to make a decision, be it, let's say, a career move, I pause and ask why. If I don't have an authentic why, like if my why is not tangible enough for me, I won't do it. Even if I started the process of doing stuff, I won't do it. Sometimes God does not wait for me to figure out a why. He does what he wants to do. But the times it gives me the liberty, I keep asking my question, why? It's for me, it's like testing my motives. And once I've gotten to a sweet spot where my why it makes sense to me, then I move. And that's what carries me, even when I face struggles, I face things, I face like difficulties along the way. Because sometimes when you don't do what everybody is doing, it doesn't mean that they say the people that make the biggest achievements are people that don't follow the crowd and they get the maximum result. Sometimes that thing you want to they don't follow the crowd. That's where you cry. But if you have that, why, and whatever is why to you, me is God, is a knowing, is a conviction. That's what will carry you through. And that's what will make you stay authentic. So that when things are even backfiring, when things are not going the way you want it to go, you don't, perfect example that comes to mind, the children of Israel. When your eyes is on the prize, which is the promised land, it doesn't matter if God takes you through a journey of 40 years. You will not be saying, oh, you wish you went back to Egypt. Because again, your why is grounded, and your why is grounded in God, or whatever your why is grounded in. Me, I'm a Christian, so mine is grounded in God. It helps you to be authentic. So even when your friends are saying, oh, let's do this, you are saying, this is nice, but it's not for me. Those are the things that makes you say, oh, this is nice, it's not for me. And it's not like I've talked about Jack Ma. I think I touched on career a bit, but it also applies to different facets of life. Why? Like, oh, I feel like personally, I think one of the ways to stay authentic to your true self is testing your motives, testing it against the word of God, because that is how you know what God is saying. Testing it even against your own, what's the word now? Your feelings, your desires, for lack of a better word. Like I think, yeah.
You've said a lot of things, all right? So I'm trying to recap. Internal and external threats to authenticity. One, people not having they have a haphazard understanding of who they are, or they don't even know who they are. All right, so that's one thing. So there's somebody listening to this now says, I'm not even very sure who I am. I know some of the things I like, some things I don't like, but I don't know who I am like that. How can we help? One or two things for that person. What are the things they can start to do in the immediate to let's say kickstart? Because if they say that, that means they've already kickstarted the journey, but continue on that journey to discovering who they are. And the journey to know who you are is not an end. I don't think anybody will ever get to the end of, oh, now I know who I am. No, I don't think anybody will get to that end, but it's that journey to, okay, daily coming to know, understand yourself. What are some practical tips that you can do to people that don't know, or they kind of have a false idea of who they are?
Okay. So let me start by re-echoing what you said on the fact that, knowing who you are is a journey. I'll be lying if I tell you that I know who I am. I don't know.
I know who I am.
I know who I am in Christ. But like, I don't know. In fact, I don't know if you've had this experience where you do some things and you're like, now maybe this.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, I can't. Let me even.
This is
Again,
impossible.
let me just tell your viewers, though, I try to be as realistic as possible. There's no for me here.
I agree with
You
you.
know that last year, 2 years ago, I reached the conclusion that I'm not a good person. I'm
That's
not joking. I was like, you know how many of us think that we are good people? Like, I'm good, I'm infallible, like, I'm ah. Something happened, and I said, damn it, Kofu, you're not a good person. Because
the
when I
Bible
saw
says
what
the
was
heart of
in
man is
my mind,
desperately wicked. When I read the scripture,
when I saw my mind, I said,
it's very
no.
dirty.
For lack of a better word, I said, you're not good. I have, like, that was a shocker. Like, damn it. I said, God, I'm not that good. I used to pride myself in being good, but I have plenty things, very issues.
A lot.
But,
When
but
this
I'm
scripture that says the heart of man is desperately wicked, when I was much
exactly.
younger, when they talk about man, I used to think about somebody external. But now
Not you are.
I put my name there
The heart
so
of
that I can go to
Kofu.
God and say, God, you need to help me. These things, what? Sometimes I'll be praying, and this
For
is
sure, you know now. We've had these conversations now, and we were like, witchcraft, spirit of witchcraft, die by fire, die by fire, die by fire.
you know that you are the you are
You
the
are the
Genesis and
person.
Exodus of everything.
And one prayer that I started praying after that
Mm,
discovery is that search my heart,
yeah.
Lord, and if there's be any
Favor, yeah.
paraphrasing, unrighteousness in me, lead me to the path everlasting. Search me, O Lord, and know my thoughts.
And if
It's
there is any, yeah, yeah.
and if there's any
Evil, bring it, yeah. Bring me to
bring
your everlasting
or
love
bring
or
it to
something,
me.
yeah.
That's one of the best prayers you can do for yourself. But this is not this is just in general. This is just in response
Mm,
to finding out that I'm bad.
mm,
But now, a direct response to what you said, you actually gave an hint. And one of the things you said when you spoke about the fact that you knew for a fact that you did not want to study law. So you did not necessarily know what you wanted,
yeah.
but you know what you did not want. And again, that has how I have English. Oduduwa is trying to showcase it himself by
Quick
revealing.
confession. I was in church on Sunday giving announcements, and I had one of these AE moments, and I shouted it on the altar in front of everyone. Oh, do.
Oduduwa.
I'm like, my God.
Um, what was I say? I've
Um,
forgotten my train of
so you
thought.
know I know what I don't want, but I might
Yeah.
not necessarily know what I want, but I'm
Uh-huh.
very clear on what I
So,
don't want. Yeah.
so I might not know what I want, but I know what I don't want. And that is how I approach things too. That is a good starting point for me.
Mm,
Especially decision making. A lot of times, a lot of us don't know what we want.
mm,
And I think it's easier to start with, okay, what don't I even want? I don't want,
mm,
I am sure. I don't want to go to Canada. I am sure.
mm.
Where do I want to go to? I don't know. Do I even want to go
Go
anywhere?
anywhere.
I don't know. But I
Mm.
don't want to go to Canada. I'm sure. So that's a starting point. So I think one way is starting from what you don't want. Like start from what you don't want.
That's
I
if you
think
know what you do, or start from where you are. Because
yeah.
some people, it's not what they know what they want, Abi. I don't even know. But I think it's the thing of starting because for me, it's always, I always know what I don't want.
Mhm.
But it's until I see, it's like you've prayed for something, you've crafted it. Then when you see, like, oh, yes, this is what I want. But in
Yeah.
the moment, you don't really know it, right? So I
What you
think it's
want.
that thing of starting in terms of knowing yourself. Start
Mhm.
from where you are, start from what you currently know
Mhm.
about yourself. Okay, this.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So that's I would use what you said as the second bit.
Mm-hmm.
The third bit is also like a culmination of the first and second one, which is sometimes I know this may sound contradictory to what I had said earlier, but sometimes the people that know you and that can help you kickstart are the people around you.
Yeah.
You can sit and have one-on-ones with like your family members, your colleagues, your close
Mm,
friends.
mm,
They, I'm trying to discover myself. What do you think about me? Like, okay, if you could summarize Kofo in 3 words, what will
mm,
you say Kofo is? Who will you say
mm,
Kofo is?
mm,
What do you think are my strengths and my weaknesses?
mm, mm.
Anything they tell you, in my opinion, are suggestions. You don't
Yeah.
have to totally
Yeah,
accept
yeah. There
that
are
in
opinions and
are.
suggestions. Yeah.
But again, if
They're
or
pointers.
independent people say
Mm,
the same thing about you, it may be that they are correct.
yeah.
So the next one is now also reflection and introspection. I do that a lot.
Mm.
And sometimes there are plenty things to help you. There are a lot of, I know Sherry has all of those things, all those psychological things online where you go and you answer question, answer question, answer question, very annoying long
Fun fact,
questions.
I do a psycho personality test twice a year.
Ah,
I
I know
do,
it should
yeah,
like
and I actually track where. So when I do it, when I want to increase this, and then I actively start doing things to help me, and then when I measure it, so that's why I said studying psychology has helped me, and I actually used to do that.
strength,
You know me.
Sherry DM. Strength,
Send me a
Sherry
DM. Oh yeah, come, I'll help.
help you. But there's some of those things too that sort of help you. Just maybe just figure out who you are. What
Mm,
are your likes? What are your
mm,
dislikes? If
mm.
you know that you don't like blood, for instance, and you want
Study
to
this,
study
study this.
medicine, it may
I
not be that you should not study medicine at all. It may just mean that maybe you should be in the business side of medicine.
Yes, non-clinical.
So, like a very good example, I love taking care of people. I love caring for people. I love health. I can't stand blood. You don't have to be a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You can be in the business side of things. You
Mm-hmm.
can be an investor
You can
that
be
is
a
in
research in the research
health. You
side
can
of.
be a research person.
Mm-hmm.
See, if you go and meet your mommy now, mommy, I really like taking care of sick people. Go and study medicine. I don't like blood. It's like, okay, it's confusion. But you get what I mean? That's
Mm-hmm.
finding out. Then the last but not the least, which is the most important, is you can only truly find yourself in God.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at the stage where I'm really, really enjoying reading the Bible. And I'm like, you know what? Everything we need for life, like it's truly in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
All the wisdom, the toolkit, the who we are, everything is in the Bible.
Mm,
So who better to tell you who you are than your creator?
mm,
Who
mm,
better to tell you who you are than the person? So if you, and I don't, depending on your level, your relationship with God, you can generally go back to ask God that, like, who have you called me to be? Like, who do you see me as?
mm,
And sometimes God will speak to you very clearly and say, oh, Kofo, you are this, you are that. In other times, it may also come from things you're passionate about, things He has put in your heart to be like that
mm,
you're passionate about.
mm,
It also goes back to things you do not like because it's also Him that maybe makes you not like
mm,
certain things.
mm,
But
mm,
ultimately, it's the one that is able to guide on
mm, mm,
what you should do, what you should not
mm,
do. So
mm,
just in sum, if you're at the phase where you're trying to figure out who you are,
mm,
or you are not even sure, they're trying to figure out who you are, one, or you don't even know who you are at all.
mm,
Speak to God about it. That is the spiritual part. If you don't want to not do the spiritual part too, like because I know that there's a mixed crowd. We said other things.
mhm,
Try to do maybe all those personality tests you find online, just to even get a better understanding of who you are, your emotions, your temperament, your
mm,
personality,
mm,
and how that translates to even profession. I know I did
mm,
one where it sort of juxtaposes your
mm,
personality with a likely profession you should be
mm,
doing because of
mm. Yeah, yeah,
what
yeah. It's that detailed sometimes, yeah.
is that one. Also asking people around you, your friends, like having a one-on-one to say, okay, tell me about me.
Yeah.
Show me like how do you perceive me? What do you
Mm,
think about me? Aggregating all the information you get to reach like tangible analysis of who
mm,
people think you are and juxtaposing it with what you've observed over the years.
mm.
There's the one that Sheree also mentioned. Sorry, I don't remember. You mentioned
Which
one.
one?
That was number two. Go and rewatch the
Oh,
video.
so you talked about getting to know yourself first of all by speaking to God. And for those of us that feel like speaking to God is
It is beautiful.
highfalutin, very simple. God, please show me who I am. Simple. Like, no, very simple. And you now find that you now begin to come into places, situations, see things, movies that begin to point you to you. Looks like something I can do. Oh, that looks like
Mhm.
right. You mentioned speaking to people, trusted people that you know. So there's this thing I did over like a 3-year period where every 6 months I'll send a survey to the people I've interacted in that period. and the theme of the survey will be help me know me. What do you think are my strengths? What do you think if you had to describe me in one word, if I were to be a fruit, you know, I
Consultation. Sure, you have consultation. If people are looking for self-discovery, they should come and meet you.
like I would do all those things just to get to know myself. And I that was it was from that I found out that people perceived me as a resilient person and that I was actually so when I faced situations and I showed off that resilience, I was like, oh, this is what they're saying, this is what they see, right? So what else? People, God, yourself. And there's this in psychology says that you are a sum total of a lot of things. Your nature, who you are biologically, who God has made you to be. And there is nothing wrong with that. I need to call that out. You are uniquely wired for the things that God needs you to do on this earth,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I might be a life of the party, sunshine yellow person, and somebody else might be a quiet. I just want to press my computer, do my work, close it, watch a movie, go to bed. All is well with the world, right? God has crafted that person uniquely, right? I honestly believe that God made us, we are uniquely wired for the things that God needs us to do. So there is that. There is your nurture, where you were brought up, all of those other things, nature, nurture, and all of that. There is also what is some total of what people think of you, what you think of yourself. Then you aggregate all those things together, and then you now begin to pick common themes, and then you then now form like a template, let's say template for yourself. So what you think of yourself, what you've collected from the data points that you have collected from other people, you know, the natural giftings that you believe God has put in you, what God says about you in the Bible.
Mhm.
In the
Mhm.
Bible, add that one too, right? And then aggregate all those things and pick common themes. So we've kind of addressed
I'm
um
going to say that. So
yeah,
the reason, in case you're wondering, like, oh, why are they going through all of this process, like painfully talking about it, is that the starting point for authenticity is knowing yourself.
self-awareness.
Is exactly, it's self-awareness, and that has been preached in different ways everywhere. But it's self-awareness because again, if you're not self-aware, then what are you like? What are you being authentic to,
Yeah.
or what are you like? If tomorrow, what's English? Because Toyota knows it's Toyota, you will
Mm,
not see it competing with Rolls-Royce. To
mm-hmm.
itself, it is true.
Yeah.
That is authentic. So it's not even trying to compete. Because Rolls-Royce notice Rolls-Royce, you will not see Rolls-Royce spending money on advertisements. They don't, it's not advertised. I've never seen an advertisement of a Birkin bag because it's Birkin.
Of course.
If I were Birkin, I'm Birkin. I know that I don't even have to do advertisements.
Mm,
So imagine if I was now hustling, trying to do advertisement, then it means that I really do not know
mm,
what I carry.
mm-hmm.
I don't know that I'm
I don't know my
luxury. I
worth.
don't have to
Mm-hmm.
be fighting in the
Mm,
space with Zara's and Mangoes. No offense, I love those brands. That's what I can afford at the moment. But I'm just saying, but those ones have to work extra hard. They know they have to do that because they're in a highly competitive
okay.
space.
Yeah.
What's it called? But yeah, okay. Let me stop there. Let me
Mm.
stop there.
So I want us to touch about something that we have talked about in on the two sides of it, right? That is I'm trying to find the right words now. Um Opinions of others, right? I had shared my opinion about how my uncle thought I should study law. You had shared your opinion about people around you when you were younger thought you should study law. Then we went ahead to say, oh, sometimes the way you get to know yourself is through speaking to people. So it's like somebody's listening, they say, I should listen to people, I should not listen to people. You people, choose one. What do you want me to do? Right. I just want us to speak to that a bit so that we're and like I always say, we're here having awesome conversations and things that we believe that's helped us. If you find it useful, this is not like this is what you must do. No, we don't do this. We don't do that here. We don't say this is must. If you, this is law. No, no, we don't do that here, right? But somebody listening and is finding value and wanting to say, okay, how do what's the middle ground here?
I think we've touched on it already,
Okay.
right? Which is where we said, aggregating
Okay.
people. So, okay, let me go back. First of all, have it at the back of your mind that when people tell you things or give you opinions, I said it before, but I reiterate, a lot of times it's not from a bad place.
Yeah.
So don't approach it with a lot of aggression or
Mm,
negativity. Like, don't just be a blockhead, like, and say, no, 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 no. Don't do that because, again, God speaks through people,
mm.
especially if you have coconut head and you're not hearing. You may
Just
need
coconut. I feel like my international audience to struggle. Before
so,
someone mention
so,
Oduduwa,
so
then I
sorry.
say coconut
Maybe
head.
you will transcribe for them. When I stop, you now put it
Mm.
star. Coconut head means stubborn head. You know what I mean? So sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm very local, you know.
It's okay.
Yeah, what was I saying? So that's just to get that out of the way.
Mm,
But again, we have touched on it where we said that I don't expect that you just have one person and whatever the person says is law. It's a combination of people. So an average 21-year-old, okay, let me even lower the age. An average 18-year-old person has gone through life being nurtured by parents. You've had friends from primary school to secondary school, and some people are already in the university at that age.
mhm,
You have some people are fortunate to have older siblings, right? And I think, okay, that can be subsumed under family. You've had your teachers, you've had like just people even some people in church that have watched you grow.
mm,
From sometimes when we look at things from an inside out view,
mm.
because it's us or because we're the subject matter, that view may be myopic,
Yeah.
very short-sighted.
Too close for
What
too
external
close to comfort or too close for comfort. Yeah.
what does external people help with is looking at things from outside in,
Broaden the
things
scope.
and helping you with your blind spots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Now, not to say, so if someone comes to meet me and says, oh, you're very stubborn, like my assessment of you is that you're very stubborn. It's two things. I can decide that I will take the person's assessment of me as is and accept it as my own. Or I can be like, I can go back home and think about it. Am I really stubborn? And even ask the person to give me examples. So if you know me, you cannot come and tell me and say, Kofo, you're very this one, and just go,
Data points,
no,
please.
explain,
Data
like give
points, please.
examples, give me things, because you may tell me how I acted stubborn.
Mm.
And my assessment of that could just be like I was being assertive. Same difference, but you get one is more positive, the other one is negative. So for me, it could just be like I was just being assertive, right? Which can also be a good strength.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
stubborn connotes negativity.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also like, okay, I'm stubborn. Okay, so what do you mean? And how do you think I can improve?
Mm.
In your quiet time, you're going through all of these things that people have said about you and you're testing it. So if Sherry and I have a conversation and Sherry says, Kofo A, B, C, D, E, I take what Sherry says, introspect, reflect on it. If there's something maybe I'm struggling to agree on, I'll take it to Bingpe and said, Bingpe, what do you think about me?
Mm.
If Bingpe and Sherry think the same thing,
Mm.
ah, a third person thinks the same thing, then it may be time for me to sit back and think, okay, there's
There's a
something
level of truth. Yeah.
that I'm not seeing.
Mm.
But if there are a lot of differences, or you say, okay, Bingpe, you don't think I'm stubborn, but Sherry thinks I'm stubborn, and you're like, no, I don't think you're stubborn, right? And maybe you now give Bingpe Sherry's example of your stubbornness. Bingpe can say, no, I don't think it's stubbornness. I think you're just assertive,
Oh yeah.
right?
Mm, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's taking everything that people have said, aggregating it, and
Mm.
reaching your own conclusion.
Okay, as you were speaking, I had like a practical example of something that happened to me. So a friend of mine had given me a feedback about how I had acted in a certain way concerning a certain issue. right? And because that friend was someone I held in high esteem, and so I started to think, I'm like, okay. Some part of me doesn't agree with what she's saying, but there has to be a reason why she said this, right? So I then pick up the phone, and in a conversation with a friend, I'm like, okay, do you think um I'm this way? You know, and the friend says, no, but this is the way I see it. She then goes ahead to explain the same thing that the person said. Yeah. But she then said, um, to anybody that does not understand your motive and does not know the reason why you are doing things, right? This behavior might come off as this way to them. And mind you, this is not a thing that you can go ahead and keep shouting your motive to people. It was something a little more than a little, people just say it. And, and she said to me, but that then she goes into the Bible. This was how our fathers of faith were. It had something to do with faith.
Okay.
Okay, I can give a bit of context that faith to someone who doesn't really understand could come off as being desperate.
Or dissolution.
Yeah. So my friend had told me that, I should there was something that,
I feel like I know the subject matter.
I don't know what you know because I've told you this before.
You see the
So
camera.
don't
I know the subject
just
matter.
so she was like, oh, so we were talking about, trying to get something. So let me put a bit of context so that I'm not leaving the guest. So I've been trying to get something, and I'm like, I have to get this thing because I just knew that I had to get it, right? And I had done everything within my own power to get it. Like, that thing, doing everything, if you want to catch a bus, if you pray to catch a bus, then you run to the bus stop. So I had prayed to catch the bus, and I was running like a crazy person, like running, 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 running. And then this person there says to me, why are you running desperately? Do you get? I'm like, okay, how have I acted desperate in this, And the person said to me, oh, faith to someone that doesn't really understand might appear desperate. They said the same thing, but in different context. And it made
Mm.
me do a little reevaluation for myself. And then I picked the things that I needed to pick out of both their counsel. And I made my conclusion of it for myself. And I had peace with it. Right. I discarded the things I did not that did not directly apply to me after
Mhm.
I introspected. Like Mrs. Ibukun Awushika will say, advice is what it is. Advice. Counsel is what it is. Counsel. It stops there. What happens after the person says whatever it is they say is you,
Mm.
100%. What you do or don't do with it, right? So just wanted to cap that there nicely. Then I want to talk about motive and testing your motive.
Mm.
And because that was something that you also mentioned, testing your motive vis-a-vis faith or with respect to faith.
I don't know if they're one and the same.
Mm.
Um, and I, oh, sorry, I'm itching my eyes.
No worries. There are two
I don't know
examples
if
that came to
they are
mind.
one
There is the
that.
David example in the Bible where,
Okay.
they had come, captured his wife, he's one of his children, and all of that, and said, oh, God, should I pursue? Should I
Mm.
overtake? Should I?
Pursue.
Like
Take
every
and
step of the way, he kept asking God, should I? Why, God? Why? It could also, it can also be flipped to, you know, to certain instances where, certain times you're like, you have an idea to do something, or something comes to mind and you're not sure, is this God? Is this not God? Is this me? Is it my mouth flesh? Am I overthinking this? Da, 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 da. And you go on and on and on and on. So that is the angle I want you to speak to.
Okay. You've already spoken to it, but I'll lend my voice, you know.
Yes.
Sorry. So for testing motives, right? Um, it can be tricky.
I found this on the
Siri,
web for what
please.
testing rate.
Siri, don't do
Right.
that.
Pull Siri into the conversation.
Oh, now my Siri now opened up.
It can be very, very tricky. But I think one of the reasons why I emphasized on it, right, is because I think that your motivations for doing stuff is a key determinant to your authenticity. Let me go back to Pastor Jimmy's example. Like I said, what was his motivation for keeping his dreads? His motivation for keeping his dreads was not because, oh, he looks nice. He looks nice, quite all right. Or it wasn't just because situation. Kept it after his ordination because God said. You can't argue with God said.
And God does not have to say to you concerning me.
Oh, no.
That's another thing. That's another thing. Yes, that's something else to call out. God does not have to say to you what he needs to say to me.
And even if God says to you, God can say to you concerning me, but ultimately is what God said to me.
Yeah.
Because now, fairly where we are, people come today. God said I should tell you A, B, C, D. God said I should tell you kiniko, kiniko.
What I
Let
read
me
in my
bring it
Bible
home.
this morning before.
Let me bring it home. God said you are my wife.
No, they can't set that one to.
No, but it's
the what?
Be honest, if someone
In this
comes
day
and
and age, they are still saying that.
what God could really say, but the thing is, it's one thing for God to say it to you, but what has God said to me?
Yeah. Like, I want to share
Right?
something I read from my devotional this morning. Was it this morning or yesterday morning? Yeah. About, I think it's somewhere in the book of Kings, where God had given a young prophet,
The minor project and a
yeah,
major
the minor
project.
prophet and a young prophet, a word. And he had given the word that, oh, the king's son is going to die, blah, 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 blah. And God told him not to eat, that he should go straight home. And then the major prophet, the old prophet, now came and said, no, God told me that you should come and eat in my house. And the prophet, young prophet that God spoke to, carried his leg, pam, 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 went to the prophet's house and ate. As soon as he finished eating, the old prophet that told him to come and eat then said to him, because you have disobeyed God, you are going to die. Why?
There's something in the Bible that you're like,
It's the same thing with this. God has said something to your heart, even if you are the only one that God said it to, and God did not say it to another person. Wrong with what God has told you.
God
God
wanted it to
told
be
Noah to build the ark. He
public
built
statement.
ark for 120 years. 100, like I did the math. He built the ark for 120 years for a rainfall of 40 days.
And that's not the amazing part. For a rainfall that has never occurred.
That's never happened. They didn't even know what to rain.
For me, the more amazing thing is not that it rained for just 40 days, is the fact that it had never rained before. So you were really going blind.
For 120 years.
Like
1 year, that's 365. No, 365.
5 days times 120.
There will be some years that are 366 now, every 4 years.
Aggregate summary. Let's not lose focus. Let's go.
No, but what we're just trying to say, is that what God has said to you, God has said it to you. And it doesn't matter whether, as long as you know, you are
that God said, though.
That's
that
what
God said it,
as long as you know
And
and
God told
convinced.
you.
And
Mhm.
your key stakeholders, because I know that Noah's key stakeholders, they were in it with him, his wife, his children. They don't have to believe you, but they are willing to stand with you because that's also very important.
Mm.
Yeah. Let me
Yeah.
let you.
Yeah, I know. I don't remember where I'm coming from, but let me end by saying that the reason why, the motive is very important is because that is one of the key determinants of your authenticity and or one of the key drivers for you being able to stay authentic
Mm,
yourself.
mm,
That is how you would not conform
mm,
if your motives are right and your motives are grounded. One, they are grounded, and I'm not saying bad because everybody can have bad motive. I'm
mm,
saying grounded motives that, okay, this is what God said. This is what I believe that God is saying now.
mm,
God is telling me, so okay, people are saying jackpot or don't jackpot. If I decide to jackpot, it's because I have tested my motive and I'm realizing that I am doing it not because people said I should do it or because it is fancy to do, but because I know that this is what I need to do for my next level. So I
this
need
is
a
what
career,
I have chosen to do.
but
So
to I need so say you want to change careers, for instance. So I am I am a lawyer, soon to be consultant, for instance. And one of the ways for me to have
say it again, say
achieved
it again,
that,
please. I like to hear things like that.
one of the ways
Say it now. I'm your friend. Don't do
now,
this now.
what do you say
Don't
again? I
don't let
didn't
my guest say that I brought a guest that does not say what they you shall get the point. Oh yeah, say it.
I didn't even hear what you said, I promise.
I said say it again. I like to hear you.
Oh, that I'm a lawyer.
Mm,
Once a lawyer, always a lawyer.
I'm not
But
even fighting with you about
soon
that
to
one.
be a consultant. So like I'm going through a career change. One
Anyway,
of
there's a lot of back gist about this that I feel like I should bring Kofo back to give us this intricate journey of it. I
viewers
think that's why I'm very
probably
excited
ignore
about it.
Sheree at the moment, and let's listen to what Kofu is saying.
Okay, so I'll mute my mic. Thank you.
And one of the ways, or one of the major ways for me to have achieved that transition is to go to business school.
Mm,
Not to say that I may not have been able to anyways,
mhm,
but I needed to go to business school to unlock that next phase.
mm,
I could have gone for an LLM,
mhm,
that's Masters in Law. I
mhm,
could have gone for an MPhil, maybe Masters in Political Science. I could have done any other thing, right?
mhm,
And I remember then, 2018, I had applied for LLM. Like, why? But everybody was applying. I swear, like, okay, no curses. Well, honestly, that's the only reason I was applying to graduate school because everybody around me was applying to graduate school. Have you ever heard of that thing before? That's the only reason. So even when they say, Kofo, so why? What do you want to do? I did not know anything. I just knew that everybody's applying to graduate school. And it seemed like if you are not in that
mm,
race, you are out of it.
mm,
And I remember one day I was in front of my laptop trying to set out an application, and it was as if, I don't know if I'll say it was God or just a eureka moment. I just paused and said, Kofo, what the hell are you really doing?
mm,
Like, why are you really applying to what you're applying to? You don't even know if you like being a lawyer. You are still like, I think I was just 1 year. This was 2018. So 2 years. So why are you applying? And I remember that day I just paused and I never went back to the application.
mm, mm,
Not to say that maybe I could not have done it later, but if I was going to do it later, I was going to do it from a place of certainty where I had tested my motivation. And the reason why I wanted to do from LLM is because maybe my motivation was I feel like that is the next stage in my career or to next stage to bolster my career growth.
mm,
That will be my motive and it will carry me through. So if someone comes and says, don't apply, I'll be like, why am I
mm,
not applying? Like I'll be
mm,
able to say no, I'm
mm.
not going to listen to you. I can take your advice, but like it's not going to impact me.
Anything, yeah.
So like that's what I that so that's how motives or motivations allow you to stay grounded. I
Mm.
guess. I hope I
I
really,
think
really hope.
they
Believe.
be your motive. So what I'm hearing is the word motive on the subsumed under conviction.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
So test why, and if you're watching this and you're not necessarily the oh, I don't know if God speaks to me. I just know that I want to do something. I set my hands on it and I do it. Why? Test the why behind why. Test the why behind why you are trying to do what you're trying to do, or the reason behind,
What do
because that is what helps you stay grounded. Stay
And
grounded.
yes, just to like reiterate and to build on the last thing you said, I've had people come to meet me, lawyers, and say, I want to go to business school. And I'm sure some of them used to expect that they say, you want to go, okay, do this, do that, do that, do this, do this. Whilst I would do that eventually, the first question I ask them is why. And if I don't think your why is good enough, I send them back to go and investigate their why. And when you have your why, come, let's have a conversation. Because I say it, a lot of times the journey ahead is not easy, it's hard.
It's
It's
never.
very hard. But what will make you stay and not be tossed to and fro is that firm conviction on why you're doing what you're doing anyways.
Mm,
That is why you would be able to stay, or that is what will make you start and finish. That
mm,
is what will build that authenticity, like you being your
mm.
yourself, like in whatever you're doing. It's because even when the tides are moving, things are not as
Tides
glamorous
will move.
as you want it to be.
Mm,
You know that your motive is very grounded, like
mhm.
it's solid, it's solid, it's cement. You use cement to hold your motive together, not clay. Do you understand? It's different. Like the hardness is different.
Yeah.
So that's so that's it really. That's it really.
Awesome. Awesome. I think that this is a good place to draw the curtain, because we kind of we kind of opened some things up. This is by no means the end of the conversation, but it's a good place to wrap this
I'm
up.
running away from you. You will not see me.
You, anyways, this is not for here. This is not for this video. Um, yeah, so we have said a lot of things this today that we spoke from our heart, very unscripted. We've had fun doing this, we've laughed, but much more than that, we hope you found this valuable. We first of all started from to yourself be true. Then we moved as soon as we realized that no, to God be true. And then we moved to talking about authenticity, internal and external threats to authenticity, the role and impact of friends, families, let's say third parties right now.
Stakeholders, you can say your stakeholders.
Oh, stakeholders, thank you very much. And the role of your stakeholders in your life. We also talked about God and the role that God plays in authenticity. We talked about making key decisions not based off of what seems right or what everybody's doing. Even if everybody's doing it and you're going to do it, you need to get your own convictions and your reasons why you need to do it. And we talked a lot about motives and convictions. We talked a lot about how to know yourself. That's what we talked about. First of all, who does God say you are in the Word? What has God said to you in your time of prayer about yourself? What do you know about yourself in terms of what you like, what you don't like, things that you enjoy, things you don't enjoy doing? And then, chatting to stakeholders, doing personality tests, and aggregating all these things to kind of figure out who you really are. Yeah. And then, yeah, one last word go forward to my amazing, amazing audience. One last word.
Hi, audience. Please subscribe to Olusere's YouTube.
Yeah.
If you've not subscribed. Also, I'm happy to have conversations outside here. If there are areas of confusion, clarification, you can send me a message on Instagram at Dear Kofoworola.
Please buy our book too. Talk about love notes. Talk about love notes quickly.
Come and buy the market I'm selling.
I recall when Kufu told me Sure, I'm writing a book and I want you to hold me accountable. And the day she sends me a message, sure, I'm going to do my MBA and I want you to hold me accountable.
Wow.
She just
It's
sends me those random messages and they always come in the night. Sure.
actually
Yeah.
that's when
Sure.
I come alive in the nighttime.
Like, sure,
But being
I'm
more
putting this
serious,
here. I don't really need a response. I just want you to hold me accountable.
yeah. And you do a good job in
Oh,
that. Thank you. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much for
I'm
being
glad
that.
now we have the book. We're wrapping up with our MBA.
Next time when I tell you something, don't ask me what's my motive or I will block you.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you. No, I think because we've built, I know you well enough. And if I feel
Good.
like you're going to destroy yourself, I will ask you questions. And you know,
Fair enough. Fair
so
enough.
if I have doubts, I would ask questions, and I have done that in the past, and you have answered me. And the answers you gave to me then made me convinced that you were doing the right thing, you were right on
I
track,
thought
right?
you
And it's
would.
also good to have people like that in your life that can
Mhm.
look at you in the face and say, hello, hello.
Yeah, actually they teach. Like, come on,
Yeah.
Isaac. What was that thing? Sorry, like I was supposed to be giving parting words and we started talking again. I'm not sorry, you talk too much.
So backstory, when Kofa and I get on a call, I think our last call was there for about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours.
Girl,
After that call,
girl,
what are we talking about?
girl, just like this one. But yeah, so
So
yes,
this one sure does feel like um one of those our calls, except a lot of that is reading. Let me show you what I'm reading in the Bible today. Oh, this is what and we go on and on and on, and it's
I
always fun.
know
I absolutely always enjoy those conversations, and I always look forward to them when they happen because they don't happen every time, but when they happen,
they don't. And thank you for having me. Really, I don't take you for granted. Yes, you're my friend, but it's also an honor to grace your screen and to be invited to speak to your viewers. And I hope that at the end of the day, we really find ourselves and we stay true to our authenticity, knowing that you are one version of you and the world needs you as you are.
yep,
Like the world needs you in your fullness, in your
yep,
entirety.
yep.
Don't try to conform to what you think is popular or what you think is fashionable.
Mm.
Just be you, be yourself. The world needs you.
The world needs you. Creation is waiting for your manifestation. So don't hide. Manifest. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for viewing. Buy love notes, follow Kofo, dear Koforola, like, share, subscribe, and see you on the next episode. Bye.
Yeah.